I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Can you imagine those words coming from your own mouth? To look at your own creation, a terrifying, beautiful pillar of fire reaching for the heavens, and realize you've just handed humanity the power to extinguish itself. This isn't the story of a monster. It's the story of a man, a brilliant, complicated man who unleashed a power he could never control. This is the story of J. Robert Oppenheimer. To understand the man who built the atomic bomb, you have to understand the world he was born into. A world on the brink of unimaginable change. Oppenheimer wasn't just a physicist. He was a polymath, a true genius. He read Sanskrit. He loved poetry. He was fascinated by philosophy. He saw the universe not just as a set of equations, but as a grand, mysterious poem. This deep, almost spiritual connection to the world is what makes his story so tragic. He wasn't a warmonger. In many ways, he was a dreamer. His early life was one of privilege and immense intellectual promise. He flew through Harvard, then went to Europe to study at the cutting edge of a new, bewildering field: quantum mechanics. This was a revolutionary time in science. The old certainties of physics were crumbling, replaced by a strange new reality where particles could be in two places at once, and the universe was fundamentally unpredictable. Oppenheimer thrived in this chaos. He wasn't just learning, he was helping to write the rulebook for this new science. He had a unique ability to grasp incredibly complex ideas and explain them to others. People were drawn to him, to his sharp mind, his charisma, and his piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through you. When he returned to America, he basically built the country's first major school of theoretical physics at Berkeley. He was a rock star professor. Students flocked to his lectures, not just for the science, but for the man himself. He was intense, magnetic, and pushed everyone around him to be better, to think deeper. But beneath this confident exterior, there was always a sense of turmoil, a kind of deep melancholy. He was a man of contradictions, brilliant but insecure, charismatic but often distant. And then everything changed. In Germany, scientists made a terrifying discovery. They could split the atom. They had unlocked nuclear. The implications were immediate and horrifying. In a world already plunging into the Second World War, the idea of a Nazi Germany armed with an atomic weapon was a nightmare scenario. Scientists, including Albert Einstein, wrote a letter to President Roosevelt, warning him of this incredible danger. The race was on. This is where Oppenheimer's life takes its fateful turn. Who could lead a project of such immense scale and complexity? A project that had to succeed, and succeed first. They needed more than just a brilliant scientist. They needed a leader, a visionary, someone who could bring together the greatest minds in the world and push them beyond their limits. Despite his lack of administrative experience and his known left-leaning political sympathies, which made many in the government nervous, there was one obvious choice: J. Robert Oppenheimer. The Manhattan Project was born. In the middle of the New Mexico desert, a secret city rose from the dust: Los Alamos. It was a place like no other on Earth. A collection of geniuses, Nobel laureates, and the brightest young minds, all living and working in isolation, united by a single, terrifying goal: to build the bomb before the Germans did. Oppenheimer was the scientific director, the heart and soul of the entire operation. He was in his element, orchestrating this incredible symphony of science and engineering. He drove them relentlessly, working day and night, fueled by coffee, cigarettes, and the sheer urgency of their mission. Imagine the pressure. You're trying to solve a problem that has never been solved before. A single miscalculation could lead to disaster. You're living under constant surveillance. And you know, deep down, that the thing you are building is a weapon of mass destruction. How do you live with that? Oppenheimer compartmentalized. He focused on the physics, the intellectual challenge. He told himself and his team that their job was to create the tool. It was for the politicians to decide how to use it. But was it really that simple? As they got closer to the goal, the moral weight began to press down. The war in Europe ended. Germany had surrendered. The original reason for the bomb to stop Hitler was gone, yet the project continued, now aimed at Japan. Some scientists at Los Alamos began to question what they were doing. They circulated petitions, urging that the bomb be demonstrated on an uninhabited island first, as a warning, rather than used on a city full of civilians. Oppenheimer, however, did not support these efforts. He believed a demonstration wouldn't be enough to force a surrender. He stood by the decision to use it. It's a choice that would haunt him for the rest of his life. July 16, 1945. The Trinity test. In the pre-dawn darkness of the desert, the world's first atomic bomb was detonated. Oppenheimer watched from a control bunker miles away. What he saw was beyond anything he could have imagined. A silent flash of light, brighter than 1,000 suns, followed by a shockwave that shook the very ground. A mushroom cloud, beautiful and terrible, rose into the sky. In that moment, the world changed forever. His colleagues celebrated. They had done it. They had succeeded, but Oppenheimer's reaction was different. He was quiet, his face grim. It was then, he later recalled, that a line from the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu scripture he had studied so deeply, came to his mind. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. He wasn't celebrating a victory. He was mourning a loss. The loss of innocence for science, and perhaps for all of humanity. Less than a month later, the bombs were used, first on Hiroshima, then on Nagasaki. Hundreds of thousands of lives were extinguished in an instant. The war ended. Oppenheimer was hailed as a hero, the father of the atomic bomb. His face was on the cover of magazines. But the man who received the praise was a broken man. The images from Japan, the reports of vaporized people, and the lingering death from radiation sickness horrified him. He had known the bomb would be powerful, but the reality of it, the sheer human cost, was a burden he could not bear. After the war, his life became a crusade for control. He argued passionately for international oversight of nuclear energy, for transparency, for preventing a nuclear arms race with the Soviet Union. He had created the monster, and now he felt a desperate responsibility to chain it. He famously told President Truman, "Mr. President, I feel I have blood on my hands." Truman, unimpressed, called him a crybaby scientist. The very government that had made him a hero now saw him as a threat. His powerful enemies used his past against him, his pre-war friendships with communists, his pleas for nuclear restraint. In the height of the Cold War paranoia, he was subjected to a security hearing that was little more than a show trial. They stripped him of his security clearance, effectively ending his role in government. They publicly humiliated him, casting him out from the very world of power he had helped to create. The man who gave America the ultimate weapon was now deemed a security risk. It was the final, cruel irony of his life. He spent his remaining years in a kind of quiet exile, leading the Institute for Advanced Study at Princeton. He returned to science and philosophy, a man forever defined by his one terrible creation. He never apologized for building the bomb. He always maintained it was necessary at the time, but the weight of it never left him. He had flown too close to the sun, and the fire he brought down to Earth had burned him from the inside out. The story of Oppenheimer isn't just about a bomb. It's a story about genius, ambition, and the terrifying consequences of our own creations. It forces us to ask questions that we still don't have answers for. What is the responsibility of a scientist? Where is the line between discovery and destruction? He created a killer sun, and in its blinding light, he saw the potential for our own extinction. His legacy isn't the mushroom cloud. It's the permanent, chilling question that hangs over all of us. What do we do now that we have become death, the destroyers of worlds? If this story made you think, if it made you feel something, please give this video a like. It really helps us bring more stories like this to you. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because there's so much more to explore together. In fact, there is another video appearing on your screen right now that I think you'll find just as fascinating. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.